Hello friends, and welcome to Miss Z's Art Room. Today we are going to be doing a guided drawing of Andy Warhol. And we're going to be doing a guided drawing of his famous Campbell's soup can. Now, before we get started, we're going to need a white crayon, a black crayon, and a red crayon. Now, Andy Warhol was famous for pop art. Pop art is short for popular art, and he chose items that were popular at the time where he was drawing. And around the 1960s is when he started drawing, and Campbell's soup was one of his favorite foods. So Andy Warhol made a lot of pictures of Campbell's soup, and he mass-produced them and used them in advertising as well. So today we're going to create our own version of Andy Warhol's favorite soup, the Campbell's soup. So to get started, we're going to draw two lines going up and down on our page. For my paper today, I have some thick watercolor paper. But if you don't have watercolor paper, any printer paper will be fine. So I'm going to take my black crayon and I'm going to draw two parallel lines. That means lines that do not cross. And I'm going to draw them on my paper. For my next step, I'm going to draw a swoopy line from one line to the other line. I'm going to practice drawing with my finger first. So I'm going to swoop my line over this way. And once I've practiced a few times, I'm going to take my black crayon and swoop, go across my two lines. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. I'm going to practice with my finger, and once I'm done practicing, I'm going to take my crayon and I'm going to swoop right across the bottom. Now, we're going to draw a circle in the middle. This is going to be the metal on our Campbell's soup can. Our last swoop that we're going to do is going to be a little bit tricky. So we're going to take our finger and we're going to practice drawing our swoop. And when we get to the middle of our circle, we're going to stop. We're going to pick up our crayon and then we're going to take it back and swoop back up. Let's practice one more time. Swoop, stop, pick it up, and then swoop back up. All right, now we're going to take our crayon, swoop, and then we go back up. Now it's starting to look like a can. All right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the top of our can. This is going to be a rainbow shape. I'm going to practice a few times with my finger, and then I'm going to draw it. Oh, now it looks like my can is 3D. That's pretty cool. A 3D can shape is actually a cylindrical shape. So the next thing we are going to do is we're going to write tomato soup on the bottom. So let's spell that together. We're going to do a T-O-M-A-T-O. And if we run out of room, that's okay. We can just add a few letters at the bottom. And then the next part, we're going to write soup. S-O-U-P. Tomato soup. Okay, this is the cool part. Now we're done with our black crayon. We can put that away. We're going to take our white crayon now. And what we're going to do is we are going to write our name in the top part. Now, when I write with my white crayon, it's not going to show up. But if I use watercolors to paint over it, these crayons are called hydrophobic. They are afraid of water. So when I use watercolors on top of them, the white crayon is going to show up through the watercolors. How cool is that? So I'm going to write my name, and you're going to write your name. So I'm going to write, oop, I just broke my crayon. Well, good thing they still work even if they're broken. So I'm going to write Miss Z, and I'm going to do an apostrophe S. Miss Z's tomato soup. And you can't see it on the video, but you're going to see it once we start painting. Now I'm going to take my red pen, or my red mark. Now I'm going to take my red crayon, and I'm just going to draw one little swoopy here at the bottom. And the reason I'm doing this one is because I wanted this swoopy to be nice and small. And when I start painting, painting is a little bit more messy than crayons. I can't get those exact lines like I want when I do crayons. So I'm just gonna start off like that. All right, my friends, now it is time for us to get our watercolors ready. When we paint with watercolors, we need to have our water, we need to have a towel, and we need to have our paint. And last but not least, we need a paintbrush. Now remember, your paintbrush is like a ballerina. It stays on its tippy toes. It stays on its tippy toes. It does not scoot across the floor on its bottom. See how I'm doing right there? That is not what we do. We leave our paintbrush on its tippy toes. When it's time for us to change a color, we need to give our paintbrush a bath and we need to dry it off with a towel. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my red paint right here. I'm gonna add a little bit of water, and then I'm going to paint my top part of my can with red watercolors. And as you can see, our crayon was hydrophobic. It was afraid of the water. So now you can see the M for Miss Z starting to show up. Isn't that so cool? All right, and see how I am adding a little bit of water to get my paint to push, and I make sure my paintbrush stays on its tippy toes. I do not scoot it across its bottom. It stays on its tippy toes. All right, now that I'm all done with my red, I'm gonna take my paintbrush, give it a bath, and dry it off after the bath. The next color I'm gonna use is yellow, but for the rest of your piece of art can be whatever colors you want. If you wanna paint it like me, that is great. But if you want to make your art piece unique, that is okay too. Andy Warhol loved color, and he liked to experiment with colors. So if you decide to do something different for your piece of art, that is fine by me. So let's check back in a few minutes and see how we did. Now my friends, I want to show you one of the neat things we can do with watercolors. With watercolors, we can blend our colors together. So I wanted to blend my purple and my blue together, so that way my background can be a little bit purple and a little bit blue. And see how I now have a blue violet in the middle, and it's gonna turn into blue. We can do whatever we want for our background, but this is what Miss Z wanted to do, and if you want to give it a try, that's great. If not, you do what you think will make your masterpiece beautiful. And for the last bit of my artwork, I'm actually not going to use any paint at all. If I just use water to finish off my artwork, it's going to create this beautiful light color. And so that's how I'm going to finish off the bottom of my portrait. And I'm going to do the same thing at the top. I'm just going to add some water, and I'm not adding any more paint, just adding water. And it's gonna make it nice and light up top. All right, my friends, there you have it. Here is our beautiful Andy Warhol inspired piece. I'm gonna let mine dry for about 24 hours, and then when it's all done, I am going to put it up and hang it up in my house. I hope that everybody had a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week for art class.